All right, your source sheet is basically, Adina gave the most amazing and inspirational shiur. We happen to be friends. And it's a wonderful, wonderful intro to this hands-on workshop where we're all going to actually do haafrasha terumot and ma'asrot on tevel fruit. You see, this is tevel. It's do not eat. Mita bidei shamayim. Smiley image, emoji of right. That's we're going to turn this into fruit that we can actually eat, and each of you are going to do it. And then you can actually eat it. I wash them. They're kumquats. I wash them, and just make sure. I try to make sure that there are no scale insects on it. Just make sure you just rub it a little bit. But we're gonna pass it out during the shiur. Okay. So Adina spoke about the amazing opportunity and zchut that we have living here in the land of Israel and doing mitzvot that, were really once esoteric, were once things that our forefathers only dreamed about. There was a delegation of Torah VeHa'arez Institute rabbis to a certain community in Europe, and they spoke about the land-dependent mitzvot. And this one elderly lady, she raised her hand and she said, "Excuse me, but our rabbis here have much longer beards than you do, and they've never done any terumot and ma'asrot." Yes?
Someone told me that it's too loud.
It's too loud? Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna, yes, thank you so much. One second. Is this okay? The truth is that I can kind of project. Oh, wait a second. I can take this off, right? I can project. I don't really need a microphone, right? What? It's being recorded. I need the microphone? Yes? Okay. Lower the volume? Okay. Yeah, it's good now? Okay, thank you. Just testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so yes, we did not do terumot and ma'asrot in chutz la'aretz for many years, and these are things we learned about in school. We dreamed about, and now it's amazing. It came back to life. There's tchiyat hametim for a whole bunch of mitzvot that just were not practiced for the past 2,000 years. So it's a tremendous zchut that we have. I just want to mention that these kumquats were donated by my friend whose husband's aunt is going to undergo surgery tomorrow, and so she asked if we could have kavana when we're doing the bracha on terumot and ma'asrot that it should be for a successful surgery tomorrow. I wrote her name on the source sheet. Does everybody have a source sheet? It's really just if anybody needs. Okay, if anybody needs, I have some extra ones here. Masha Malka bat Adol. If anybody needs, I gave you one here. So, okay, let me make sure that I know how to work this. Okay, so we said that Baruch Hashem, we have this amazing opportunity to perform this mitzvah. And wait a second, how do I go to the next? Here, one sec. There we go. Yes, awesome. Thank you, Adina. Okay, so first of all, terumot is taking truma is a biblical obligation. The truth is now because not all of Am Yisrael is here in Eretz Yisrael, which can change very soon. Actually, it's still it's not on the same level. It's Rabbanan. Derbanan, but the source is biblical. וזה יהיה משפט הכהנים מאת העם, ראשית דגנך, תירושך ויצריך, תיתן לו. So basically the biblical obligation is grains, wine, or grape juice, and olive oil. And that actually is a biblical obligation in all parts of Israel. It's also, it's a derbanan obligation, but it's the most basic obligation in all parts of Israel, including Olei Mitzrayim. I'm sure you've all heard about that term now during Shemitah. That's more like in southern Israel. If we'll have time, we'll look at the different borders of Israel and everything. But so that is the highest level obligation. There is a dispute about whether fruit is a biblical obligation also. There dispute about among the Rishonim. According to everybody, vegetables is derabanan. It's just a derivative of that. But that is what we start off. That we're giving our gifts, right, to our teachers, to our spiritual mentors, to the people who actually do the avoda in the beit-midrash, and again supporting these people so that they can actually support and uplift us, as Adina said so beautifully before. Okay, wait a second. I'm sorry. It goes backwards. That's why. All right. So, how many mitzvot do you think terumot and masrot involve? Anybody? 20. Oh, yes. Wow. Well, yes, there you go. So there are 6 positive mitzvot and 14 negative mitzvot. So we have to, okay, this is going automatically. Tov, whatever, that's fine. So we have mitzvot of including, you have to set it aside, you have to name it, you have to do it in the right order, by the way. If you do it in the wrong order, it doesn't really work. You have to actually know what you have to, a kohen has to eat the terumot and masrot. Sorry, I'm sort of technologically challenged. Yes, there we go. So the kohen has to eat it, has to eat the terumot in a state of ritual purity. You can't a stranger can't eat the terumot and masrot. I can't eat the terumot for the kohen. There are a whole bunch of positive and negative mitzvot that this involves. Okay, and what is? Sorry, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this by the end of this year. So untithed produce is called. This is it. It's called tevel. Tevel is actually, Chazal tell us, it's lo tov. It's you see like the letters lamed, tet, vav. It's tevel. It's not good. It means that basically all of the gifts that, Adina mentioned that there are different gifts for different people. There's gifts for the kohen, the levi, either a poor person or the owner of the fruit. It's all basically mixed inside. So I can't take any of it because it's not mine. Maybe I'm taking the part of the levi. Maybe I'm taking the forbidden part that only the kohen can eat when he's pure. So I can't touch that right now. It's not good, and it's all a big mixture. So what we talk about, the term we use when we're turning this tevel into something that we can eat is to fix, litaken. And it's so amazing. We as women, we are allowed we don't have to have special, to be a mashgiach kashru. We don't have to have smicha or anything. We have the power to fix this fruit and for everybody in our family and for anybody else, actually. And I heard the most beautiful parable about how we can look at this. We are actually, it's sort of like a bride. When you're standing with your chatan before you get married, you are not allowed to even touch his hand, right? You're just fiancés. But when the groom says, "Harei at mekudeshet li, kedat Moshe v'Yisrael," and gives you the ring, then all of a sudden you become his wife, and all of a sudden something that was forbidden becomes permitted and even a mitzvah. And what's happening there is unbelievable. There's a change of status. There's and it's with words that it's happening. I mean, there's actually actions that are also going in, but it's something that's so unbelievable. And we're all going to have a part in changing the status of this forbidden fruit and eating the fruit. Afterwards, we can all make a bracha and eat the fruit, and that is part of this changing the status. Brings us to kedusha, which I heard one beautiful perush one beautiful understanding of kedusha is basically intimacy, is connection. And once we do this change of status, we can have a connection. The bride and groom can connect to be one, and we connect to the fruit, and by connecting to the fruit of the land of Israel, we connect to the Shekhinah. We connect to the Shekhinah, hashochenet bekerev haaretz. Okay, so tevel, again, if somebody eats tevel, it's mita bidei shamayim. That's really, really bad. We can't benefit from its consumption in the broad sense of the word. Means we can't burn it. We can't give it to somebody else. If somebody has a fruit tree, by the way, don't give tevel to somebody else unless that person is me giving a shiur about it, because somebody can mess up. Somebody can, by mistake, a kid can take it, can eat it. Not good. We are allowed to smell it, so you can enjoy while it's here. Okay, and who do we give the gifts to? Anybody? Let's see. We have a Kohen. We have a Levi. Wait a second. Sorry. One second. No. Sorry. I'm going backwards or forwards? Okay, don't look. Wait 1 second. No, I've got it. Here we go. Okay, you didn't see that. Okay, we have a Levi. We have the Truma Gedola and the Trumat Maaser. Those are both gifts to the Kohen. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between today and a long time ago. There actually is a way of giving. As we said before, the Kohen can only eat the Trumot and Maasrot if they're in a state of purity, which is not today. But there actually are ways of giving the Kohen the Trumot and Maasrot today, and we'll discuss that Bezrat Hashem later on. The Levi, that's my son, by the way. We're Levi'im. His name is Shlomo, and you give Maaser Rishon to a Levi. You can still give Maaser Rishon to a Levi. We're going to also talk about how to actually do that. What? That's right. You can also, by the way, that's interesting to note, we have some girl power here. Even if a Bat Levi gets married to a Yisrael, she can also get Maaser Rishon. It's like special Levi or Kohen status, also Bat Kohen, right? Okay, then we have Maaser Ani. There are different years in the Shemitah cycle. We're all aware of the Shemitah cycle specifically this year. On years 3 and 6, it's Maaser Ani. And on years 1, 2, 4, and 5, which is next year is year 1, then afterwards year 2, it's Maaser Sheni, which Adina spoke about, is that there's a certain amount of produce that goes to the owner of, which is us, the owner of the tree. So this year, actually, it's interesting. So we have that Truma Gdola, Maaser Rishon, Trumat Maaser, Maaser Sheni, Maaser Ani, okay? And there are different amounts. Dina mentioned briefly, there's math, right? There's different amounts that everybody gets. Truma Gdola, and we're going to go over this again and again, okay? Truma Gdola is something, it used to be in the times when the Kohanim could be in a state of purity, that there were different amounts that people gave them. Like there was Ayin Yafa, which is like, to be generous, which was 1 out of 40. There is an Ayin Beinonit, which is 1 out of 50, and an Ayin Ra'ah, which is like being stingy, which is 1 out of 60. Today, we only just have to give the biblical amount, which is just a little bit, the tiniest bit. There's Maaser Rishon, which is 10%. Actually, the Levi gets 9%. We'll talk about it. Trumat Maaser is 1%. Okay, it's 1% of that 10%. It's Maaser min ha-Maaser, the tithe of the tithe. We'll go in. Don't worry, we'll go into this again. And Maaser Sheni or Maaser Ani, depending on the year, it's 9% of the rest. We'll figure out why is that 9%? Why is this 10%? We'll go into this. Everybody will understand. The goal of my shiur is that you understand what the source sheet that I handed out, which is the process of separating Trumot and Maasrot. So these are the types of Trumot and Maasrot and the amounts. And anybody know what year these kumquats of the Shemitah cycle, what year do they belong to? Who thinks it's 6? Who thinks it belongs to the Shemitah year? Okay, so it's actually kind of confusing. Like, we're in the middle of the Shemitah year, and we're in the middle of the Shemitah year, so we're supposed to be in the 7th year, right? So that means that they should be hefker, maybe, right? And then if it's hefker, then it's exempt from tithes, because the whole idea of giving tithes and terumot and masrot is Hashem gave me produce. Now I have to take care of all of these people that Hashem told me to take care of. So if it doesn't belong to anybody, then it's for everybody. So I don't really have to take from it. And if it's during the Shemitah year, so we don't have to take from it. But actually, the people who thought that it's the 6th year are right, because why? Because for vegetables, it actually is the 7th year. If you harvest any vegetable now, say that even started growing before the Shemitah year, that's with Otzar Beit Din say. I'm not going to get into Heter Mechira right now. Maybe we'll touch on it later. For vegetables, it's the harvest. The harvest determines which year it belongs to. So even if I planted it last year, if I harvest my bell pepper this year, it's a Shemitah bell pepper. It has Kedushat Shvi. For fruit, though, it actually has to do with Shevat. Generally, most years, it's if it started to develop after Tu B'Shvat. Shemitah is different. If it started to develop after the beginning of Rosh Hashanah this year, then it belongs to the Shemitah year. Okay, so most years it's called the beginning of development is called Chanatah, and during this year's Shemitah year, if it began to develop after the beginning of the Shemitah year, and if you don't know, like, oh man, when does my tree? When does it start developing? If I didn't notice, we have Shemitah calendars on our website. You can check it out, and you can ask me about it afterwards if you'd like. For grains, it's grains and legumes. It's called Onat HaMa'asrot. It's when it's starting to be ready for its beginning of being ripe. It can sort of be eaten in extenuating circumstances, and the date is also the 1st of Tishrei. So that means all of these started developing before Rosh Hashanah this year. That means that they all belong to year number 6. Anybody remember which year that is? Maaser Sheni or Maaser Ani? Maaser Ani, that's right. Okay, so I have my little guys here. 1 second. It's a Maaser Ani year. Okay, we have our Ani, right? We have our poor guy. We have over here. See, and if it were a Maaser Sheni year, then we would give it would belong to the owner, okay? That is the owner, and because we're all women, so the owner is a woman here, and it would go to Yerushalayim. So, but this year we are a Maaser Ani year. And, okay, right, that's right. 5781 is the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle. Okay, and if there are certain, like during this year, if there's produce that grows indoors, or there's heter mechira produce that you don't know if terumot and masrot were taken from, this actually happens. There's some farmers markets that have a sign of heter mechira, then you actually sort of take both. And in what we have, what I handed out to you, there's a conditional text which says, if this year is a Maaser Sheni year, then I'm giving Maaser Sheni. If it's a Maaser Ani year, then it's Maaser Ani. And in general, it's a good idea always to say that, even if you're sure, just to get into the habit and just to make sure you don't make a mistake. So, okay. So now we're going to go on. There are 3 stages. We're getting ready. We're almost there. There are 3 stages of separating terumot from the produce, terumot and ma'asrot, okay? First, we have to designate a name. Like we said, Harei at mekudeshet li. We're designating a name, and we're also saying where it is. So we're basically, sorry, I jumped to 2. First, we're actually physically separating the truma from the rest of the produce. Why? Why do you think? Why do you have to separate it? For the Kohanim, it has Kedusha. Yeah, beautiful. We can't eat that. Actually, the Kohanim today can't eat it either. In the end, we're going to see what we can do with it. Generally, we double bag it and throw it away. Okay? That's right. We're going to get into that. Kol hakavod. We can actually feed, we'll just say that now. You can actually also give it to your Kohen, and he can give it to his pets. We'll talk about how farmers also give on a large scale their terumot instead of just throwing them away, and how they sort of give to the community doing through it as well. Okay, so actually, we have our Kohen. He's yellow because yellow is like dusha, right? And so you can see that you can give it to his pets. The truth is, you can also, I'll just say it now because we mentioned it, we can give oil to a Kohen. If you grow olives and you make olive oil, you can give oil to a Kohen for his Shabbos and Hanukkah candles. Actually, you can't do it for Yom Tov candles because Yom Tov, you can't use shemen srifa, which is shemen truma. But for Shabbos, and so you can, there actually are several things that you can do with the truma. But yes, we can't eat it. We can't eat it. So it has to get out of there, because that is like mita bidei shamayim, if somebody who's not a Kohen and who even is a Kohen but's not pure is eating it. So we have to physically take that out. Okay, that's stage one in fixing. But afterwards, we have to designate and name. Okay, after we designate and give everything a name, we call something truma gdola, trumat maaser, truma gdola, maaser rishon, trumat maaser, maaser sheni, maaser ani. After we designate it, even before we give it, it's no longer tevel. I'll take the sign down. It's not tevel anymore, and we are actually allowed. It's allowed to be eaten. Then. Yes, not that one. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, not what we are giving to the Kohen. That's kadosh. But what the rest of the fruit is called mitukan. It's fixed. We fixed it, and it's no longer considered tevel, and we can eat it. Yes. We'll get there. Excellent question. Do we actually have to physically separate the 10% in order for all the fruit to be eaten, to be like allowed to eat? Actually, you don't have to physically take off the 10%. You don't have to, okay? But there is, just like, what's your name? I'm sorry? Shirley. So just like Shirley said, wait a second, don't we have to actually give it to somebody? So there is called a mitzvah of nitina, of giving the gifts to the people they belong to. I mean, there's a Levi, and there's an ani, or there's a maaser sheni to the owner of the produce. So we're going to talk also about how we actually can give the gifts to a Levi and to a poor person. This year, we're just going to really focus on the poor person. All right? So we have these are really the 3 stages, and we're actually going to perform all 3 stages today. Okay? So which part of the fruit are we going to take? All right? So we need to use a part of the fruit that can actually be eaten. If it's like not a good fruit, it's like a little bit mushy, it's a little bit rotten. Today, to take off that one, the little bit for the Kohen, we can actually today use a not so great fruit to do it, because they're not going to eat it anyway, and it's going to be thrown out. Bezrat Hashem, when we do have tahara, then we actually have to use a nice fruit for our Kohen. That just is a nice thing to do. So actually what this says, not from the peel, today it's a kumquat. So we actually can eat the peel. Peel is considered fruit. So we have to use an edible part that can technically be edible. Okay, so now we're going to get into the process. Yes, we're warming up. We're going to understand now, Be'ezrat Hashem. This is a little complicated. We're going to, Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that it's going to be clear. It's very important that we understand what we're doing. According to some opinions, if you don't understand at least the very basic thing that by what we are doing, we are giving fruit to a Kohen, a Levi, and a poor person, or to the owner, then we haven't done anything. If you just sort of rattle off the text and you don't understand that we're designating fruit and giving it off, even if you don't get all the math, okay? That's also okay. I mean, I'd like you to. We'd all like to. But the most important thing is we understand what we're doing on a basic level. So I think we all understand. So everybody's terumot and maasrot is they're definitely gonna count. So everybody, I'm sorry if it's the photocopy is a little bit hard to read. That's why in Torah VeHa'arez Institute, the rabbi said that if you're an English speaker and it's easier for you to understand the English, it's better to say it in your native language so you understand what you're doing. So that's why I translated, and we have here a text in English of the haafrasha terumot and maasrot. All right. So, okay, about what it says on the top. Make sure you have a coin worth enough prutot for several chilulim. We're going to talk about that. That really relates to Maser Sheni year. That, you know, today we can't eat the Maser Sheni, so we transfer its sanctity onto a coin. And then we have to deal with the coin. It's kind of complicated. People who are members of a Keren Maasrot, which I am, the Torah VeHa'arez Institute has a Keren Maasrot, has a Meiser fund that sort of helps us do it in an easy and uncomplicated fashion. We're going to talk a little bit more about that afterwards, so you don't have to worry about that right now. Then, okay, we're going to set aside 1% of each type of fruit or vegetable that we have. That is the very first step. 1% and a little bit, okay? Anybody have idea what that 1% and a little bit is? A little bit more than 1%? Trumat Maser, excellent, excellent. So that little bit, you don't have to like separate them. You sort of calculate how much is 1% and a little bit more than that. And because of the way that our nusach works, you don't have to be exact. You have to make sure that you at least have 1%, though. That is important. That is going to be the part that we can't eat. That is the first part we physically separate, okay? Then we go ahead and make a bracha. Okay, if we're sure that nobody separated terumot and maasrot from it, and it's with the borders of Olei Bavel, which is everybody's familiar with the term Olei Bavel? Okay, Olei Bavel, there were two aliyot. There were actually three aliyot, but the first wave of aliyah was of the Jews who came out of Mitzrayim. It's called Olei Mitzrayim. This aliyah, people settled all of Israel, many, many broad areas of Israel, because there were lots of them. Then they unfortunately were exiled, right, with Nebuchadnezzar. And then there was no more Kedusha in Eretz Yisrael. That was called the Kedusha Rishona. There was still some Kedusha, but it's not on the same level. The second wave of Aliyah was with Ezra and Nehemiah, Jews that came from the Babylonian exile, and there were less of them. And they settled in certain areas, more or less like more northern and central Israel. And it's just a less, it's not as big a swath of land. In those areas, there was a Kedusha Shniya, second sanctification, and the laws of the mitzvot-of-the-land, VeHa'aretz, the land-dependent mitzvahs, apply in full. Okay, in the areas of Olei Mitzrayim, they don't apply as much. There's some that apply, there's some that don't apply. That's why if you see Olei Mitzrayim vegetables here now in Shemitah, then you'll know what we're talking about. That's more like down south, in certain areas, the Arava, the Western Negev. Those are Olei Mitzrayim. So if it's for sure Tevel, if it's for sure in Olei Bavel, which is the central and northern Israel, then for sure we have to take terumot and maasrot. So then we make the bracha, okay? Okay, afterwards, we start saying the text. So now let's understand the text. So first of all, we set aside, we have our little plate, our little napkin, right? So you see we have a plate or napkin. You set aside something, that's our little, something kol shehu, that's for the Truma Gedolah. And also 1 apple, we have here 100 apples. So we have 1 apple, that's 1%, and also kol shehu. So here we go. Here's our kol shehu. And here's our little apple, right? We set it aside from, and now we see this is all in gray. It's all tevel. We can't eat it. There's a little bit out of that apple. That's for the something. And then 1 apple out of 100. That's our 1%. Okay. Sorry. Stage 2, we designate a place and we give a name. All right. So if you look at your nusach, at your text, it says that which starts with that 1%, the apple, okay? So we say a lot of times, by the way, when we're setting terumot and maserot, we don't have 100. It's not as neat. So you just take 1% and a little bit on the same slice, all right? Here, I'm just showing you so that math makes sense. We can take it on the same slice of fruit. And so the top part of it is going to be our truma gdola, and the bottom part of it is going to be the trumat is going to be the rest that we're going to give to the kohen. So this is how we say this. First of all, the 1% hameit, the 1% I set aside is still tevel. I have not designated it yet as anything. I have not given it a name. I just set it aside. The rest of what I set aside, which is that little dot on the top, that is truma gdola for all of the produce that I want to fix right now. Okay? So understood? And actually it's great that we say it like this, because let's say you're not exact with the math. So we say the 1% below, I'm sure there's 1%, and the rest is truma gdola. So the truma gdola can be like a lot. It can be a lot. It can be something medium. So you don't have to worry so much about the math. Make sure you got 1% and a little bit. All right. So this, again, we said is going to go to the kohen, right? All right. Now, the second stage, stage 3, okay? We designate a place and a name for Ma'aser Rishon. And do you remember, who does Ma'aser Rishon go to? It goes to Shlomo. No, it goes to the Levi. That's right. And we see that it's 10%, right? We have 100 apples. We have 10%, right? We have, this is also part of the 10%, okay? You see that? That was also part of the 10%, that 1 apple that we set on the side. This is all, the 10 apples are all going to the Levi, all right? So what we say in the text is that the 1% I mentioned, which was, we said before, was just tevel before, right? So we said that 1% before, and another 9%, that's 9 apples, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, on the top of the produce. So we mentioned before, and that's going to go to a Levi, all right? So we have, here we go. So again, does that make sense? Is that clear? We have the 1% and all of those together are Ma'aser Rishon. All right. Today, because the Kohen can't get the produce because he or she are not ritually clean, the owners, we do this whole process. We give the Ma'aser Rishon, we give the Trumat Ma'aser. The Levi actually, how many apples did the Levi actually get in the end? 9. Good, kol hakavod, which is how many percent? 9%. Beautiful. Excellent. Everybody's great at math here. All right. So now we go back. First of all, we colored in pink our apple, our nice little apple on the top. We said it belongs to this whole list of this whole bar of 10 apples, right? And we say that it's all Ma'aser Rishon. Now we go back and say, wait a second, by the way, that 1% I mentioned before, that before was tevel and now became Ma'aser Rishon, now we're going to make it into something else. Now it's also Trumat Ma'aser. It has become Trumat Ma'aser. Is everybody with me? Trumat Ma'aser, it becomes yellow, right? It's going to go to our Kohen, right? So it was before part of this Ma'aser Rishon, it became, and now it's a 10th, right? So the 10th of our Ma'aser Rishon, that becomes Trumat Ma'aser. And it goes it would go to down from that plate to the Levi together to the Kohen, and we're going to show it's 10% of 10% of the produce. It's like 10%, which is 1, right, of 10% of the produce. That means it's 1% of the entire produce. In the times of the beit-midrash, we would give, again, all of the 10 apples to our Levi friend, and then the Levi would give his 1 apple to the Kohen. Yes. 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 So today, what I was saying today. Oh, okay. How are we going to give it to the Levi today? We're going to talk about that soon. But in the times of the beit-midrash, when there was ritual purity, we would give, that's why I gave an old-fashioned Levi here. We would give all 10 apples to the Levi, then the Levi would do a haafrasha. He would go and have a little text that he would say, and he would say, this apple, 1/10 of all of my apples, this is called ma'aser min ha-ma'aser, or tumat ma'aser, and I'm giving it to the Kohen. That's how it used to be. Today, the Kohen can't do it, so the owner does the whole process. And that's why we are going through this. That's why we're going through this. And the Levi stays with his 9 apples, and the Kohen gets his 1 apple. Okay? Today, we can physically give the 9 apples to a Levi, and we'll also talk about how to do that. Okay. Is the math, everybody getting the math so far? Okay. This is complicated. It took me a while to get this. I've been doing this for a long time, but I really had to figure this out. We took the whole 10% off, and we are going to figure out what we do next. So now how do we, now we've given already truma, ma'aser rishon. We've designated rather, truma, ma'aser rishon, trumat ma'aser. It's very important we do in this order, right? Because we have to give the gift to the Levi, and then the Levi would give the gift to the Kohen, right? That's why it's important that we do it in that order. Okay? So now, how much are we supposed to, now we have another ma'aser, which this year we said is ma'aser ani, right? Our poor guy over here. Okay, so how do we calculate how much the ani gets? And I already kind of gave you a spoiler, but let's figure out how that works. Okay, we already gave it to it's for the Levi already, so we don't have those 10 apples. How many apples are left, everybody? 90, excellent, you guys are amazing. So how much is 10% of 90 apples? Wonderful, that is 10%, 9 apples. And now we're gonna put it on the bottom, right? 10% is 9 apples, all right? It's the same amount, we just put it down on the bottom. And that's why we say to take off our maaser, trumat maaser, our maaser sheni or maaser ani, another 9% will follow on in our text, another 9% on the bottom of the produce. Before it was the top of the produce maaser rishon, right? Now we're talking about the bottom of the produce, maaser sheni or maaser ani, the second tithe or the poor man's tithe. All right, which is 10% of the 90% remaining, 9% total. Okay, so now we know so the ani would get 9%. Okay, here we go. Next slide. Wait a second. All right, there we go. Yes, our friendly ani is getting his 9 apples. Okay, during years 1, that's next year, 2, 4, and 5, it's a maaser sheni year. And during that time, during the times of the beit-midrash, people, like Adina said, would take their 9 apples that they would have, and if they lived in close proximity to Yerushalayim, or they lived in Yerushalayim, they would take their apples to Yerushalayim and eat them there in a state of ritual purity. If they lived far away, then they had the option of transferring the apples onto money. And by transferring the apples onto their apples onto money, they actually take the kedusha, infuse it in the money, and that way the apples become devoid of kedusha and they can eat them. All right. And then that money they take to Yerushalayim and they use it to spend on wine and meat and fruits and vegetables and bread and enjoy and party in Yerushalayim. Okay, and they would do that, on the Shloshet Regalim. Think about it, like you have your fund for, your Tiyul fund for the Shloshet Regalim. You're taking it off from the Terumot and from the Maaser Sheni, and that's what people used to do. Today, unfortunately, we still can't do that because we don't have ritual purity and we don't have a beit-midrash. So what we do today is we transfer the value of this. This is what we used to do. We transfer the value onto a coin, all right, shevet pruta, which actually today is approximately from 8 to 10 agorot. We transfer it onto a shevet pruta. Even if it's a whole bunch, we don't do it according to the value because we can't eat it today. And there's a lot of laws that govern this coin. So we're going to see what we do about that. And then it becomes purple. It becomes holy, right? Because we're am segula, right? And then the apples become chulin. We can eat them, all right? And then we would take the coin to Yerushalayim, all right? Let's do it now. Are you excited? Yes. All right. So first, I'm just going to do a dry run with the oranges we have here, and I'm going to ask. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Ruth. Could you please hand out to everybody an orange? Yes. Excellent. Wait a second. Here we go. Everybody, if you need any more. So first of all, I have exactly 100 oranges right here, just so that the math actually works. There's another about 50 oranges there. So as you're getting your orange, I'm going to set everything up. How much is 1% of what I have over here? 1, right? Yes, I have 1. There's 1, and just to make it clear, this is actually a really big one, so I have 1 and then a little bit. You can actually weigh it. If you have a whole bunch at home, you can weigh them also, or you can count them. I'm going to put it on the side. My 1 and my little bit, all right? Say something. Not yet. We're setting it up. Does everybody have a knife, or every row have a knife? Okay, I am getting ready my 1%. Again. All right, I have a little bit more than 1% of my orange. All right, we can do this on several things at once. That's why I brought several to show you that we can do it on several things at once. We are going to eat all this. Don't worry. These we're not going to eat. These we are totally not going to eat. This is trumat gdola and trumat maaser. You can't eat them. Here we go. Here is our beets. We have grapefruit. I'd like everybody, while we're doing this, to please cut off the top of do your best to cut off the top of your kumquat. Thank you. And put it on your plate on the side, all right? Because we're in the same room, this is called mi hamukaf. Oh, I forgot my nice little lemon. I'm gonna take a little bit of my lemon.
Do you have ice cream?
Yes, I have here. Everything I have right here. Okay, we see all of this. It should be in close proximity, at least in the same room. It should be open. The best is actually if it's all assorted, it's all out. But it should not be covered. It's got to be minhamukaf. It's in the same area.
Can I ask you something, please? That means really, when you do that, even if we would cut off the piece, we would be able to eat once you finish with the broccoli.
I'm sorry. You have a question?
If we did not cut off a piece, right? But you're doing that over there.
No, I give all of these are all your personal, it's a gift. It's all your personal kumquats. I am not being mocked to you. You are all doing it yourself. Exactly, that's great. So you're all doing it yourself. And again, this Rav Hashem, we're going to keep in mind Masha bat Malka, Masha Malka bat Adol, who likes oranges and has surgery tomorrow, but Rav Hashem should be successful. Okay, so we have right now. I'm going to take this down when it's no longer tevel, all right? and then you can eat the rest of your kumquat. I'm also going to hand out, by the way, for everybody, we're going to hand out some bags afterwards, just for the table. The truth is that afterwards, each table just send it back to and then you guys can send your bag back to everybody. We'll bag it up afterwards. Okay. So now we have our 1% and then some. All right, on the side. All right. Now we're gonna say the nusach. We'll all say it together in English. First, we're gonna say the bracha. All right, we're going to say the bracha. This is amazing. We are doing a mitzvah. Yes. Yes.
There is no minimum amount, like desires or something that we're supposed to take the lecture.
We are supposed to, we explain the math. We are supposed to take 1% and then some.
But the amount that we're taking from doesn't matter if it's a one-time income, but we still say the bracha. Not like you know.
Definitely. Okay. We still say the bracha. Excellent question. Actually, there are questions in terms of how much certain amounts for transferring to a coin for the very first time. There definitely are amounts, but the obligation to separate terumot and ma'aserot is from any amount. All right, any amount, even a little non-relief. That's actually without a bracha we would do from kuzbara because we eat it. Anything that's that we eat, we separate. From even a little tiny kumquat and a little tiny cherry or grape. We have to separate terumot and ma'aserot in order for us to eat it. If we know for sure that it's hevel vadai, we know for sure nobody tithed it. If we know for sure that it's from olei bavel. If you don't know, if there's a halachic-guides, do the whole process without a bracha. Okay, so when in doubt, don't say bracha. Okay, that's all. So let's all say the bracha now, okay? With a lot of kavanah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher kidashanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahafrish terumot u'ma'aserot. Wow, I mean, to everybody. What to you? What? I'm sorry?
You don't have to say hare after possession.
No. Okay. Now we say the full text. What I am about to say applies to each type of produce separately. Now that applies to what I have here because I have different types of produce. All right. But it doesn't matter even if you have one. Just say the whole thing. All right. The 1% that is on the lower side of the produce I set aside remains tevel for the time being. That's this guy. That's this. This is tevel, the 1%. The rest of what I have set aside is terumot dolah for all of the produce. All right. This is terumot dolah for this entire thing. We still do not name this. It's still tevel. All right. The 1% I mentioned and another 9% on the upper side of the produce is maaser rishon. So that means that this, and another 10 kumquats here on the top is maaser rishon. In your kumquat, the top 10% is maaser rishon. All right? All right. So set that aside. You don't have to set that aside at this time. All right, you can if you're actually going to give it to a Levi at this point, but you don't have to right now. All right, again. Now we have the maaser rishon, terumot maaser rishon. I'll set it aside right now just to show you again that we have 10. You know what? I'll keep it. The top part is 10. Together with this. There's 9 kumquats on the top for the Levi, together with this kumquat, which is the maaser rishon. Okay, then so we named our terumot maaser. We said the 1% I mentioned and another 9% on the upper side of the produce is maaser rishon. Excellent. Now we are going to change the status of this right now. Okay, the status of our 1% is going to change now from maaser rishon. We're doing this on behalf of the Levi. All right. Next line. The 1% that I previously set aside is Trumat Ma'aser. Poof! This is holy. This is Trumat Ma'aser. This is for our yellow Kohen. Yes, excellent.
That's what we're gonna put in the bag.
That's what we're gonna put in the bag. That's right. You can even put it in the bag right now. Okay? We have okay.
Need to put it in a separate bags, or it's not.
No, we can put it on the bag. We already separated it. You don't have to put it separately, and we can gather up all of our Trumat Ma'aser and Ma'aser Rishon. We did it already. We set it aside for the Kohen. Okay. Now comes for the Ma'aser Sheni or Ma'aser Ani part. All right. Another 9% on the lower part of the produce is Ma'aser Sheni. And if the year requires Ma'aser Ani, it is Ma'aser Ani. Your fruit is no longer tevel, everybody. This was the bottom 10 kumquats, or the bottom of the very, very bottom of, not this kumquat, but the very bottom 10% and 9% became Ma'aser Ani for a poor person. Okay, so now it's no longer tevel, but wait a second, what about giving it? Yes.
After we cut it,
Yes.
we can eat it.
Okay, wait a second.
What about the nine?
What about the other 9%? That's right. What about the 9% for the ani? But what about the 9% for the Levi? Wait a second. I'm a Levi, I want to get my 9%. So what do we do now? Are we allowed to eat the kumquat? Well, first of all, the kumquat is no longer tevel. There's no longer mitav b'dei shamayim. However, part of it actually belongs to a Levi, and part of it actually belongs to an ani. So what do we do? All right. So how do we give? How much time do we have? We don't have that much time. We'll try to do this quickly. Okay, we mentioned about redeeming Ma'aser Sheni onto a pruta. That is about 3 cents today. All right. We do a pruta b'reva. That's the rest of the nusach that we need to have. I'm not going to go into it right now because it's not a Ma'aser Sheni year. What do we do with the truma agor? Again, we say we can give it to a Kohen's animal. All right. There are chasalat, all right? What do they do with all their whole truma crates, which is 1%? That's a lot, okay? That's a lot to throw away. So what do? They give it to a cowshed, all right? That they do sort of like a mechira kametz. They do a mechira lekohen. Lots of places, lots of farmers, they set up with like the biblical zoo or other zoos. They sell the animals to a kohen. They become a kohen's produce, and they give all of their produce to the zoo animals. And that way, they're sort of giving it to the community and not throwing away. Like Dina said, to make a just society where we all enjoy, for everybody to enjoy. That's one of the things we said. Oil lighting, and what we do. We either bury or burn like with the challah, or we double wrap and dispose. So that's why I asked everybody, there are plastic bags. We'll put it in the plastic bag. We're just gonna double wrap and throw it away. All right? Okay, but how do we give the netina? How do we give it? Okay, that's the animal, right? Yes. Okay. So beit-midrash is a matzah fund that Torah VeHa'arez Institute runs. There are other matzah funds as well. There's also Keren HaMatzrot. There are different matzah funds, but sort of that are there so you don't have to run after a Levi. Make sure they're a pedigree Levi, that make sure they have yichus, they're a real Levi. You don't have to go and say, wait a second, I need to give you a poor person, homeless guy in the street. Would you like a quarter of a kumquat? Okay, what am I going to do with all my quarter of the kumquats from the OU conference this morning? I'd rather maybe like 5 shekels to buy myself a falafel or you can't buy a falafel. To buy something else, right? A drink, yeah, right. A cup of cola or something. So how do we? And who is a poor person? We have to make sure that we're actually giving it to a poor person. So the role of the Keren Masrot is to actually give it to a Levi, to actually give the Maaser Ani to a poor person. And how do we do this? Somebody who's a member of the Keren Masrot, which
I allow everybody to use my membership now as part of this haafrasha. Okay? We are giving, I made a loan, an advance loan with a poor person from the beginning of the year. I gave money to this poor person at the beginning of the year, and they said, okay, this is something that Chazal set up, by the way. It's called Matirei Ani. I said to them, listen, you're going to keep this is a loan for you, and whatever fruits or vegetables I have throughout the year that I need to take Ma'aser Ani, so I'm going to keep the fruit, and you're going to get its worth. Make sense? The Ani is happy, I'm happy, I don't have to run after and make sure they have a special sign that says a special petek that says that they're a real poor person. And are you really poor? Are you really poor? Yeah. Do you like? Okay. Here you can have a quarter of a clementina. And also we also have a Levi. We have in מכון Torah VeHa'arez, we have a pedigreed Levi who has yichus dating back 1,000 years, and he receives a loan in the beginning of the year. And to account for all the opinions, including the Chazon Ish, who says that you shouldn't give today Maaser Levi, what he does is at the end of the year, he donates all of his Maaser Rishon money that he gets to Torah learning institutes, which is sort of like what we're talking about Maaser Rishon. So it's like membership is 80 shekels for 1 year, and that allows you to make this advance loan. It actually goes. In מכון Torah VeHa'arez, we've been using it for pa'amonim to help poor people get back on their feet. If somebody's a Levi, by the way, they only have to pay 40 shekels because you can keep a Levi in. You have to go through all the steps. Also, if you're a Kohen, but you can keep your Maaser Rishon in the end because it's for you. But you have to go through the different steps because you get the Maaser Rishon, you take part of the Maaser, the Trumat Maaser, right? So they can keep it. All right, so then, okay, so that takes care, and then we redeem. They have a coin for us that we can use to redeem the Maaser Sheni. Now, there are a lot of halachas about the coin. It's very complicated. I'm not going to get into it, but people who have membership don't have to worry about the coin. There's a coin for you there that you can use. All right, this is the Maaser Ani loan agreement. We like mamish write. We write up an agreement. It's signed and there's a signature. It's legal terms. I translated this. It's legal, and that's part of what we do. Okay, so we already. Okay, we said this. All right, so that is the Maaser Ani loan agreement. There's also a Maaser Rishon Levi loan agreement. So that's what we do. So now everybody, you can enjoy your kumquat. Through my loan that I did, I already got the permission of the Levi and the Ani to use the fruit and give them that whatever few cents that it was in that little 10% of the bottom of your kumquat. So I hope that you understand how it works. Yes?
I think it's important to mention, I think it's obvious to most people, but if I have done this before, every time I go shopping, I have to do this. No,
okay, so yes.
Most stores do it for you.
Yes. That's right. So if the Truma and Maaser in major supermarkets, not AM PM, but supermarkets that have a hechsher on them, if you check that, they have a hechsher. There's a mashgiach. It's actually a very, very good system. They all have hechshers. Yes, yes. So you don't have to worry about it. Only if like buying a sugar, if you have on your tree or a friend you're not sure about if they did it or not, then you would give too much master. I'm available during brunch if you have to ask any questions. If you have any questions or you want to be part of the chat, you can send me or sign up me.
Second
Not this year. It's not my sheni this year. If you're not sure, we would say the text, but just not say the bracha. All right? But you can eat it. Say your VeHa'aretz and you can eat what you did. I don't know if you would say if you haven't had a kumquat this year, then you would also say Shevat. What? It's the 6th. Maaser Sheni is on 1, 2, 4, and 5. Not 6. All right?
Okay. Finished. Okay. Thank you very much.